Wednesday afternoon. Another edition of the NBA Report. CP the Franchise, Alex Rotaros, Andrew Salop, the 1-2 combo in the building. On today's show, what is going on in Milwaukee, man? Adrian Griffin out. Doc Rivers in. The coaching carousel for one of the best teams in the NBA. Hey, never a dull moment. Plus, Rivalry Week. We're going to recap a couple of games from Rivalry Week last night, including the Knicks' big win over the Nets in the Swamp, and Clippers reigning supreme over the Lakers, man. Plus, trade updates. We just saw Scary Terry head down to South Beach. What is next? We're going to react to all of that. Call us up, 657-383-1509, or you can hit us up on the NBA Report Discord. Let's get into it. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. See Pro Cannon Gaming in the chat says early club. Shout out to Pro Cannon Gaming. Fellas, how we feeling today, man? How we feeling?
Feeling good, guys. I'm feeling good. I wonder how Andrew feels considering his Bucks narrative may take a little hit. You know, if you're questioning about Tom Thibodeau's creativity, Andrew, I don't know how Doc Rivers is that much more creative than Tom.
We got to talk about it, man, because Andrew's team is down bad right now,
You guys got to chill because in the YouTube comments, they really think I'm a Bucks fan, man.
Well, you're 30-13 Bucks, second in the East, you know, on the Dame trade and all that, revamped team. They decided to make a change. Adrian Griffin out, Doc Rivers in. I mean, Andrew, I'll start with you, man. How did you react to the news yesterday when you heard that Adrian Griffin was going to be fired, man, when you think about how this Bucks team has played this season?
All I thought was that Giannis didn't want him there. I think that was my initial thought, and then you saw more and more reports that was true, even though Giannis was the guy that
brought him in.
It was – what?
Yeah, that brought him in. Exactly.
So I thought it was also there were some red flags in the beginning when Terry Stotts, who was a Dame guy, left real early. That was a little bit weird. From a basketball perspective, they haven't been bad. I mean, they've been pretty good. They got a winning record. I think they're second in the East now. Offensive rating with their top four guys have been good. Offensive rating with their top four, defensive rating with their top four guys has been good as well. But I just think the vibes have been off. And Giannis probably hasn't been feeling him at all. We saw in press conferences that Giannis was saying that the team was disorganized, that everybody has to do their job better, even down to the laundry guy. But I really think he was directing that energy not towards Dame, not towards his teammates, but towards the coach.
Yeah.
Then it was kind of weird that Doc Rivers was the replacement. Like this is like a cat with 9 lives, bro. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't know if that helps my Bucks narrative.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Like CP, what are your thoughts? Alex, what are your thoughts when Doc Rivers is the first name and then he just gets pushed right in there? The other weird thing is that wasn't Doc Rivers consulting?
He was
Griffin?
the consultant.
Yes. That's a weird look. That's not a good look.
It's so weird, man, because here you have it for years and years now. You've been hearing Adrian Griffin. He's next in line. He's the guy, right? He's studied under all the great coaches. He's been under Tibbs. He's been under this guy, that guy. He's the next guy in line. They bring him in, just like you said. Giannis is on board, right? But all of that was, before the Dame trade and everything kind of happening there. And so then they bring in Doc Rivers as a consultant, maybe when they thought like, oh, man, this thing, just in case things go south, we need, some instruction in here. And then all of a sudden it just all falls apart. But it just goes back to me saying, like, whether it's the Bucks, it's the Suns, it's the Clippers. Like, when you put these teams together, now you're on the treadmill. Now you have to go. Like, there is no patience to build and take your lumps and build again. Everything, once the Dame trade happened, everything went out the window. Because now it appears, based on the Bucks trying to cover their ass by saying, well, we think Griffin will be a good coach down the road, but right now we needed a bit more surety, right? So now they're thinking, okay, this guy was a coach in the making or still developing himself. But with Dame here, your timeline just went so fast. It's just going to go so fast. You don't have time to allow the guy to coach through his lumps. I didn't like that. I felt like it's almost like the blame game that they had for Joe Mazzulla last year in Boston.
Yeah.
It's like when do you give these guys time to get acclimated to their personnel, to take their lumps, to learn from those things, to get better? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, man.
I think all those things would be true, CP. It's just that Giannis didn't want him there. Like,
That's it.
Front office would
bottom
give him,
line.
You know, front office would give him time. They would definitely give him more time than this.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even the All-Star break. It just at the end of the day, like, Giannis didn't want him to be there.
Yeah. The superstars hold all the power, man. You always have to look that way when these abrupt changes are made like that.
But I mean, at the get-go, like, don't you think you'd want to bring in a veteran coach? I mean, look what the Lakers did. They bring in Frank Vogel, right? They're like, or they had Frank Vogel. They got rid of him. You bring in Darvin Ham, which was, you see all the lumps that he's taking. You know, you need a seasoned coach over there saying, hey, we're going to have somebody that understands these systems. We know what we need here. We have grown men in the room. We don't have time, CP, as you're saying, to really just work through all the kinks and iron all the stuff out. That's why you see Frank Vogel back again with the Phoenix Suns. They're like, look, we need somebody who's established. We can't mess around. We need somebody who knows what they're doing. And I just look at guys like Darvin Ham. I look at guys like Adrian Griffin, where it's like these guys are just put in a position where front offices should know that once you get stars like Dame and Giannis, you got to be thinking, who is somebody that's ready to coach these guys and can hold them accountable, which is why they're going to Doc Rivers, which is why he's a top name. They're like, okay, he's done this before with Boston, the Clippers, Philly. We're going to go with him because he's trusted and he's well-respected. I think it was just a mistake from the get-go to hire somebody where you look at guys like Daigneault, who are like with OKC, right? And they're given that opportunity to learn. You look at the Raptors. I'm sorry, his name is just not popping to my head right now.
Radovich, I believe.
Darko.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you see like how he's given a young team to work with. Like, I think a lot of these new coaches need a young team that they get to work with to get that flexibility and that wiggle room, because even if they lose, you could say, all right, let's measure the development. Let's measure the wins the following season, how guys progress. That's the situation for all new coaches. That's how it should be. That's how it should look. I mean, even look at the Knicks, man. They brought in Tom Thibodeau. They brought in an established coach. They said, we want to win now. We want somebody who's going to set a culture and a tone from the start, and that's the direction they went. So I feel bad for Adrian Griffin because he was put in a position by the Bucks that's their misdoing. I also feel bad for Mike Budenholzer because he was an established coach that won 2 seasons ago and wasn't given a fair shot after what had happened to him and his family members after losing somebody in an accident. And it's so wait, you fired this guy to bring in a young head coach, and now you got both of them on the books, and now you're going to bring in Doc Rivers. Yeah. Where was there any issue with Budenholzer to begin with? He led that team to a title, and maybe I forget if there was discussions whether Giannis was starting to lose faith in him, but based on what he went through, I felt like he should have been given another chance, another season to correct things, just what has happened, because life happens, man. It's tough to deal with a loss and then try to coach. So I feel bad for Budenholzer. Now to talk what Andrew said, Doc Rivers having 9 lives.
9 lives, man.
I need his agent.
9
okay?
lives,
I need this guy's agent.
Yeah.
Okay. And I said that, like, it is tongue-in-cheek that I put that on Twitter yesterday. And I'm like, I got some pushback saying, well, he has a ring and stuff like that. Yeah, he has a ring. It was back in 2008, though. You give this guy chances with the Clippers, didn't go far with the Clippers. You gave this guy a chance with Philly, didn't really go far with Philly. And now you're going to tell me that this guy's going to take the Bucks far, where this guy has not been to conference finals since he was with the Celtics. Look, insane.
Man, holding on to that ring, huh? Holding
on to that ring for sure.
The coach is always going to be the scapegoat, and it's only a matter of time before Doc faces the same fate, just like he did in Philly, just like he did everywhere else. The Clippers, Boston, everywhere. This is a flawed team. It's a flawed team. Going from 4th in the East in defense and then losing Drew Holiday and going to 22nd when you're adding in Dame and Malik Beasley as your backcourt stoppers, that's no surprise, man. Like, is that all on Adrian Griffin? A lot of that is on the personnel. They're just a flawed team. We knew their defense was going to take a hit as soon as they made the Dame trade. They don't have enough firepower off of their bench. They have a lot of young, inexperienced talent. There's no draft picks left. Like, it is a tough team to build around. The Phoenix Suns are seeing it the same way. Yes, you are top heavy, but the rest is left to be desired, and so they have a lot to fix. Middleton, he's older, he's less mobile as he's not as mobile as he used to be. That's another situation that impacts your defense. You have less than average defenders in Dame and Malik Beasley in your backcourt. Like, those are different. And so you can't expect them to Doc to fix all of that. Now, on the flip side, with Adrian Griffin, I think where he went wrong was trying to fit the players to the scheme rather than the scheme to fit around what the players do best, right? Like you're now asking Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, who are used to being in the drop, to now play up on the level, be more aggressive, force turnovers, which he didn't do well, right? You wanted them to be more aggressive. They didn't. They were last in the league in turnover rate. They're getting crushed on the boards now because you got guys all over the place, mismatched, out of position. They're getting crushed in transition defense. And so maybe those things Doc can come in and maybe help fix. Maybe those things change. But I think that was part of Adrian Griffin's issue, is that when he came in, you got to understand this is Giannis's team. This is to a certain extent Dame's team. Like, you have to go to them and get a feel for what they want to do. Brook Lopez, this is his team. Middleton, you got to go to the established guard and be like, okay, how do we make these things work?
Yeah.
He was on quoted after I think it was either the game against the Nets or one of the teams where the players had to go to him and force him to change the defensive scheme to go back to what they were doing, what they were used to. And he said after the game, what'd he say? Sometimes the players know more than the coaches. That was bad. That was a bad look, man. I thought that was a bad look for him.
So you felt maybe from the beginning they should have kept their foundational pieces of Brook and Giannis playing more in drop.
I think they should have went with what was working for them. But instead I felt like, he tried to change things too fast. And you have players who won championships together. You have ego in your star players. I think that's going to create friction very fast if you don't have buy-in. Clearly he didn't. And that's good.
One of the 48 laws of power, don't make drastic changes, small changes over time, and then people will go with your flow, You can't just change everything on defense, especially like with Bud. They were a great defense, so I totally agree.
I think the other thing, too, is that they wanted, like when they hired Griffin, they wanted this team to be more offensively driven, and naturally that's going to happen when you have guys like Giannis and when you include somebody like Dame who's a sharpshooter and can score at all three levels on the court. But I think even when you watch that offense, like they didn't even get enough Dame and Giannis pick and roll to start off with, and that had to work out. Like they had to work that in later. So it just didn't seem like a good fit when you just look back at everything. But to me, like you still give a guy a full year to see like what can happen. But the fact that you don't have Giannis or Dame buying in, I mean, let's go even back to the in-season tournament, right? Chris Hayes comes out with that report saying Bobby Portis challenging Adrian Griffin. You know who is connected with Hayes? Crispy Haynes. It's Dame.
100%.
Dame is leaking that to Haynes and be like, yo, man, this is what's happening in the locker room. Like, we can't stand this anymore. And then once that got out, the clock started ticking where it's like, something had to course correct this season. But for a team that is 30-13, clearly they're very talented for even all the coaching issues that's happening. I don't see – this is why it's so funny. I don't see how Doc is going to fix what they want, which is to be a more offensive team, which is not really – his strong suit. Like his teams have won on defense.
Yeah.
I mean, and now that you're saying you're going to go to Doc because you need an adult in the room who understands how to work with these egos, because of, like I said, the resume. We know the guys he's coached. Kawhi, PG. You can go to James Harden, Embiid. And so now you're like, okay, now it's Dame and Giannis. I just don't see how that solves the issue. It just seems like a quick fix for the Bucks, which I think what they're getting themselves into. Sometimes – it's funny because when we talked to Corey about Tom Thibodeau, and you think the grass is always greener on the other side, you might have just stayed with Budenholzer, man, and really gone through a proper evaluation instead of just saying, we lost to the Miami Heat, let's go bring in somebody else. I don't see Doc fixing all of these things.
It's very interesting. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Speaking of Haynes, did he drop Jeff Van Gundy as one of the possibilities before the Doc Rivers hire?
Did he drop that? I thought Doc was always in the driver's seat, and then they said Kenny Atkinson
I don't know if it was
Haynes,
second. But somebody dropped the Jeff Van Gundy name. He's like in the mix for every coaching
He's in the mix for everything.
Gets it.
Jeff is in the mix for everything, man. You can't make it up.
I think the thing is that ESPN said they let Jeff Van Gundy go because they were worried about him going back into coaching because it seemed like he had an interest.
Yeah.
But now look at Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
Hired by ESPN, and now he's like, hey, a coaching gig. Hey, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it, man. And I mean, they're 30-13, so it's like it's hard. It's not surprising because from the thing that came out with Terry Stotts, that was like, whoa, what was going on? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, look, we don't know Terry Stotts personally or what his demeanor is or what his makeup is. But if you want to tell me, and yes, I'm sure it has to be a hard adjustment to go from being a head coach and running your own show to kind of being supporting cast. But if you want to tell me that this guy couldn't even make it to the opening tip-off of the regular season before he had enough of the head coach that he had to leave, I think that has to tell you something there that maybe Adrian Griffin was a hard person to work with and deal with. Because then you go back to the fact that Giannis he's changing plays. He's not subbing out of games in certain respects. The buy-in wasn't there across the board, it seems like.
I don't necessarily think it's Terry. I think it was more so. I think Terry Stotts left not because he couldn't take the demotion from head coach to assistant coach. I think you hit the nail on the head, CP. It's Adrian Griffin is just a guy you can't work with. I think it was more so Adrian Griffin. This is my first year as a head coach. I don't want a former head coach stepping on my toes and thinking that he could take this job and stuff like that. And so Adrian Griffin being a little like
paranoid,
defensive in his position, like, and just starting to cause a little bit of a ruckus. And Terry Stotts is like, look, man, I'm here because I work with Dame. I'm trying to ease that gap for you to be a head coach and to be here as support. If you're thinking about to step on your toes, I'm not trying to be here anymore. I'm going to leave. You do your own damn thing, and let's see what happens. And now you see what happens.
Maybe it's justifiable, though, with the Doc Rivers consultant thing. Maybe he should have kept his eyes wide open and have eyes behind his head and all that type of stuff. Like, this guy basically took his job after consulting for him. That's nuts.
That is nuts, man. What a dirty business, man. This thing never seems
cold world, right?
No, it's so cold, man. From players getting moved to knives being out in the front office, man. It is a cutthroat, grimy business, and it's the cost of winning, man. This is what winning will do. This is what winning will do. Like you said, Al, that they put butt on the chopping block. He had a personal tragedy. It didn't even matter. He was like, yo, listen, we got to keep it pushing. Our condolences, but we got to move forward. And now they're looking at it. No draft picks. They got a high-priced team. They're older. They got to make something happen. They are 30-13, though. So let's see if Doc can kind of help close some of those gaps. But I just don't see how you could expect a coach to cure all of their ills, especially on when you make that Drew Holiday trade, which you had to make, right? Like I think this situation for the Bucks, you still would prefer to be in this situation than continue with the team that you had because it needed tweaks. It needed better offense, and Drew was just limited in that respect. But now here you are on the other side. Defense is woeful. Now you don't have Dame going. Your high price ticket item he's kind of up and down on the season, and now you're looking for answers, man.
Well, they had to move. They moved like one of their top perimeter players, plus another good defender in Grayson Allen to go get Dame.
Yeah.
So, this is the cost of doing business. CP, we talk about for the Knicks, going back to them. Like, you trade RJ and Quick, we lose bench depth to get OG Anunoby. That's the price to play the game. But, this is where it's going to take another season for this team, in my opinion, to really fortify themselves to be like, okay, they can run away with this thing.
Yeah.
No question about it. I mean, even with the Celtics, like, we still have our questions about the Celtics because of their depth. So, I mean, it's quasi-open between those two teams, but I think the Bucks need another offseason just to fill in the gaps defensively because it's just – I don't think that's enough to go all the way. Once you go play someone like if you're going to play the Denver Nuggets in the finals, that team is fine offensively, defensively. I don't think they have enough to match up with a team like that.
True indeed, man. Andrew, before we move on to another segment, man, I mean, are you confident that this team can turn it around, man?
Yeah, Andrew, where's the narrative now? Where's the
Doc
propaganda?
Going to turn this thing around now, man? What do you think, man?
Even though Doc is kind of rigid these days with the way he coaches basketball, doesn't really embrace the modern style of play like a Rick Carlisle, like a Spo.
Yeah.
I'm going to still go with the Bucks, man, because I believe more in Dame and Giannis than any other duo in the East.
Well,
but also, I mean, we're going to talk about the Heat. They made an interesting move.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. We definitely going to get to that, man. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. CP, Alex, and Andrew in the building. The NBA Report. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Share this on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. Oh, we are actually streaming live on Twitter right now. So for those of you that are watching on Twitter, salute to you guys. And also share this on Facebook. So Rivalry Week, another one of the NBA's marketing schemes that they're trying to roll out. Kicked off last night. You had the Knicks visiting the Brooklyn Nets. And this one was interesting, Al. This one was a little bit sloppy for the Knicks early. You had Mikal Bridges cooking. But, in crunch time, the Knicks got the dub when they needed to, man. Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, 30 points apiece. The Knicks got the timely stops in crunch time. OG Anunoby, Josh Hart getting some timely rebounds and turnovers, forcing turnovers. Knicks get the job done, man. 108 to 103. What you think about this one, man?
I thought it was a sloppy game, as you mentioned. But look, I said it last night in KFTV post game. I think it's good character building for the New York Knicks, the way that they were able to collect themselves in the fourth quarter, execute, and get the win down at the end of this game. So for the Knicks, it's you continue to see that starting. I mean, they didn't have Hartenstein yesterday, but with the OG Anunoby trade, man, it's just been successful. It opens up everything for Brunson and for Randall. So that's been looking great. You want iHeart back, especially in tomorrow's matchup against the Nuggets. But I think it's good character building for the way the Knicks were able to execute late down the stretch of that game yesterday. I liked it. Joey
Diaz says we was not visiting Chill. Nets was visiting the Knicks. That's a good one. That's a good correction. My bad. True. My fault on that one, Joey. Thank you for the correction. I'm with you. It's good to see that despite the fact that we know they are a work in progress and they need to make a move to shore up the bench, they're still winning. 10-2 since the OG Anunoby trade. They came back, and yes, they were down by 9 to start the fourth quarter. You had good play by that bench unit, by McBride, Precious. OG gave you a good running with those guys. I thought Grimes' defense was also good. And then, Brunson and Randall took him home. So it was I think it's a good character builder. When their backs are against the wall, they know that they have work to do, and they're still finding different ways to win, which is a good sign. Now, they got the champs on Thursday. We'll see how they fare there. But it was no doubt a Knicks home game, like my guy Joey Diaz said in the chat, man. I mean, this play right here, which I'm going to pull up, was described by Jalen Brunson as the play of the year. And, man, when you go here and run this play,
drives in, scoop, no, tipped up in the air. Johnson's got it. It's blocked by Anunoby. And Hart saves it for Randall. Up ahead, bounce, back for Randall. Hammer jam.
I mean, it was a Knicks home game in there. Did you hear how loud it was in there, bro?
Yeah, it was loud. They had MVP chance for Brunson in the second quarter.
Yeah.
Not the third, not the fourth, the second quarter. You had MVP chance for Brunson while he was at the free throw line. Barclays is just a second home arena, man. I said it yesterday on Twitter. Look, thank you to the Brooklyn Nets for moving to New Jersey to Brooklyn to create another venue for the Knicks, so that way we can go there.
We can be a little closer.
Cheaper,
we can be a little closer.
It's closer, man. We don't have to travel that far. And when you look at the Knicks schedule, you're like, oh, we're away. We're on a 5-game road trip like we were this year, and you see you're ending in Brooklyn, like, oh, we're home.
Yeah.
We're back home.
Andrew, what'd you think about this one last night, man?
As I said, the Nets just cultureless. They have nothing to lean on. I don't know what they are. Like, we know what the Knicks are. Tibbs, tough, gritty, defensive style of play. You got your two pillars. You just added an OG who fits in really well.
Yeah.
The Nets, it's just, it's the second team in New York. Nobody really knows what they're doing. They're in purgatory. But I always defer to you guys when it comes to the Knicks. Mm-hmm. But let me just give this thought. I think the New York Knicks should go full Nova Knicks. Find a way to bring in Bridges. Kyle, he's with the Hornets. Bring him in as a player coach. Sadiq Bey, where are you? Yeah. Just go full in Nova Knicks. And on top of that, bring in Jay Wright, man.
I was about to say, where's the Jay Wright?
You think Jay Wright is next?
I think he was playing 4-guard lineups before it was even a thing. He was playing modern NBA basketball with Nova back in the day. Bring in Jay Wright, man. Go full in Nova Knicks. Let's go.
Is Jay Wright the heir apparent? The way this thing is going, I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if Jay Wright is in here in a couple of years, man. So we'll definitely see what happens with the buyout market. I'm hearing what Ian Begley said is that the Knicks would be interested in Kyle Lowry if he becomes available. So, hey,
I didn't even know that. Yeah, I just said that out the. Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's dope.
Well, I think he mentioned.
Right
I think he said that there was some interest in the organization. Right.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he could play that player coach role, and then he could back up like for non-Brunson minutes. He would help a lot. You know, it makes sense.
CP's sick.
Sick. I'm sick right now. You know who's sick right now, though?
Who?
Mikal Bridges. Well, let's hear from Mikal Bridges, who was not too thrilled with being a visitor in his own building, man. Here is Mikal Bridges on the atmosphere at the Barclays Center. So to everybody in the chat.
New to this rivalry, but I mean, when you hear a crowd like that, it's your building, and you have to hear "Let's go Knicks" and all of that. Just how would you describe that? Is that frustrating? Is it galling? I don't want to put words. How would you describe that?
I mean, I feel like any person in here is not fun, and you feel like you're at a away game at home. So that's for probably any person sitting in here, any person alive. So.
Mikal Bridges, the latest victim of the Knicks fan, the latest victim of Knicks Nation, who travels near and far all over the globe to cheer on the orange and blue, man. And, yeah, it happens. Mikal Bridges was getting booed at the line. I remember when I used to live down in Atlanta, I used to go to Knicks-Hawks games. I mean, I remember vividly when Al Horford was like so demonstrative to the crowd. He was playing for the Hawks at the time, and he was at the line, and Knicks fans were raining boos out there. And Al Horford had to stop and, like, look over to the crowd and, like, raise his arms as if to say, yo, like, Hawks fans, come on, man. Like, what's going on right now? So, hey, Mikal, we sorry, man. But, you know, we're a loud group, man. What do you want us to do, Al?
Hey, we own the Barclays. We own Orlando. Anywhere else.
CP was just in L.A. They own L.A.
We own L.A. We own L.A., man. So that was funny. And then shout out to Josh Hart, who is always recruiting, says, yo, bro, Mikal Bridges, call me. Shout out to Josh Hart, whose Twitter game is unparalleled, man. Unparalleled. Shout out to Josh Hart, man.
I mean, Bridges just looks depressed at that podium, man.
Yeah.
He's like, good God. Like, I'm here. I mean, remember, when he got traded to the Nets, he said his favorite arena was Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's not forget that. So,
he did.
Hey, man, we're trying.
Hey, we're trying.
Who is it? Shout out to CK2K, who put out a great clip, great reel this morning, and he ended his reel with that meme of just the guy screaming at the flower shop door saying to the cat, "We're gonna get you out of here!
Yeah,
we're gonna get you out of here!"
Oh man! So shout out to Mikal Bridges and hang in there, man. You know, better luck to you. Better luck next time. As the Knicks take Act 2, they're up 2-0 on the series with the Nets. So there that is. Now you also had the Battle of Los Angeles at the Crypto, or what they call it, the Staples. And when I was in LA, they said we still call it Staples. We don't respect crypto, so they still call it Staples. But anyway, Staples belong to the Clippers, man. No LeBron James for the Lakers. Clippers get this W, 127-116. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard with his second career triple-double for Kawhi Leonard. James Harden chipping in with 23 and 10. Clippers have now won 3 in a row and 11 of their last 13. Al, been telling you about my West Coast team. The Los Angeles Clippers are a force. We're putting the champs on notice. We're putting OKC, the young OKC pups. Yeah, just for the sake of the show, we're putting the young OKC pups on notice. Minnesota, forget about it. They're worried about stat padding. That's going to cost them down the road. Yeah, we're putting the league on notice, man. The Los Angeles Clippers. There it is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You now join the Clippers fan base. Look at this.
Clipper Nation.
This is news to me.
Me and Clipper Darryl, man.
Clippers Fan TV coming to a YouTube channel near you very soon.
Might be, man. Yeah.
Oh, good God. So you jumped. It's interesting. You just jumped off the bandwagon to OKC, a fun young team that you're all in on.
No.
Now for the Clippers.
No. I think, just like you said, OKC is a fun young team, number 1 in the West. I don't think they're going to make it in crunch time. I think they're going to be like Sacramento. Maybe not a first-round exit, but their flaws will eventually get exposed in the playoffs,
The
which is physicality, their inexperience, and the whole dynamic with Chet at the 4, Chet at the 5. They need more size and more rebounding when it counts, because the shots aren't always going to be falling in the playoffs. So who's going to get the second chance opportunities? Who's going to keep the opponent off their glass and lock down some possessions? So I think that's where OKC is ultimately going to fall short. But I just feel like the Clippers have everything where, if healthy, and I heard Brian Scalabrine say this on the morning show with Isola, which is so true. When healthy, you could make the argument that when they're playing these teams, Kawhi Leonard could be the best player on the floor.
Yeah, he's playing like that
on most nights.
I think outside of Kawhi and PG really tearing it up and James Harden coming through and being the solid facilitator that they needed for this team, I really liked Westbrook's game last night, man. I thought he was really good last night, and it's so nice to see him play so efficiently. He went 6-11 for the field, got you 16 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, got you 2 steals. Dude was just locked in to face up against the Lakers, who wrongfully made him the scapegoat for their issues last season. And it was just nice to watch him bounce back. Not necessarily bounce back, but just have a strong game, because he's been playing really well this season, even before they got James Harden. Westbrook's been has been good for the Clippers so far. I like him coming off the bench and just providing that jolt of energy, right? Because he could still get downhill, still just a lightning bolt of anything you need, man. Rebounding, facilitating, scoring. That's just who he is. Lightning in a bottle is the best way to describe Russell Westbrook's game. So I'm happy for him last night. And really, he could be that difference maker in a series. You talk about going into the playoffs, you need somebody off the bench that can give you scoring. I mean, look, he got you 16 points. He almost scored 1 point a minute. He played 17 minutes last night, got you 16 points. Having that off the bench is legit.
Yeah.
Most definitely. The guy was scoring with one shoe off. He was rocking the cradle. He was doing it all, man. He definitely has been great for them with energy off the bench. And Kawhi Leonard with the triple-double. I said this, like, for the Clippers to be great, he has to be Toronto Raptors, Kawhi Leonard. I think he's definitely back to that on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Not sure he's quite Raptors Kawhi on the defensive side. What have you guys made of the emergence of Kawhi Leonard just being healthy, and how close do you think he is to that level from what you guys are seeing?
I'm not sure, with the age and mileage and the fact that he has that knee that may not ever improve to 100%. Will he have the same movement, the same lateral quickness to be the claw, that stopper?
Right.
Maybe not, but like you saw when they played OKC, he could still get you some timely stops there, man. And they have the guys that can help with Terrence Mann, with PG, with their big man. Once Zubac comes back, hopefully that improves their defense. So they have guys that can slide in and help from a team defense perspective, but offensively, he's as good as he's been.
Yes.
He's as good as he's been. So, yeah, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, man. If they can make it healthy, there's still a huge second half of the season left. A lot of basketball to be played. But if they get into that postseason dance healthy, man, I'm telling you, they got to be talked about more. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for your boys, CP, Alex, and Andrew in the building, the NBA Report. And this show is presented by Prize Picks, guys. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. Go to prizepicks.com and use our code MBAR or hit the link in the video description for a first-time deposit match of up to $100. Now, also around the league last night, guys, you had a little controversy in OKC, man. OKC and Portland, where OKC won 111-109 on Jalen Williams' heroics once again. But you had some controversy here in the fourth quarter as, Malcolm Brogdon and the Blazers are bringing the ball up. He gets trapped. He's trying to call timeout. Chauncey Billups is trying to call timeout. And the referees call a double dribble. That would turn the ball over to OKC, who would get it to Jalen Williams, who would ultimately have the last laugh with a 9-foot pull-up jumper to seal the deal, man. What you guys? Let's go to the call, because Chauncey Billups did get ejected with two technicals for that, and they're gonna protest the call. Andrew, what'd you think about that one, man?
I think it's tough when you try and call a timeout from behind the play. So I understand why nobody saw it. But, at the end of the day, you got to keep your cool in those situations. From the OKC standpoint, I mean, how are they going to – this is another question I have for you guys. Like, how are they going to keep all these guys in the fold? Because Jalen Williams seems like he's going to have to get paid.
Yeah.
Chet is another guy that'll eventually be an all-star, and SGA is going to eventually be an MVP, in my opinion. Him with, like, Ant Edwards and Luka, the Embiid, Jokic, those guys are going to all be in the mix for MVP for years to come. I wonder, like, for now it's okay, but like, how are they going to keep all these guys in the fold moving forward? And do you have to accelerate things by trying to bring in another piece right now, like maybe like a Lauri Markkanen, because this team just has so much talent so early. It's almost like they accelerated their timeline.
I think I agree with you, Andrew, on the call for the Trailblazers. Well, against the Trailblazers, because you can't really see anything, you can't really hear anything. Like,
right,
it's a loud arena, so I can give there's going to be human error in this. It's not as like you're watching it all in full, like the refs are there, like watching Chauncey Billups call a timeout, just like totally disregarding him. I think that's tough. So we'll see what happens with the protest of the call. But to your point, I think, well, moving Josh Giddey would be the first thing to do.
100%.
Just moving him, and then you keep your core of Williams, SGA, Chet, and I think like you're going to need one of those guys or even two of those guys to say, I'm going to take less than what I could actually make for the greater good of the team for keeping us all together. I think that's what's going to need to happen, just because the way that the contract situation will be moving forward in the NBA with the CBA, you're going to only have two guys who are going to get paid like massively, and then everybody else will be below even the middle, what used to be like, was it the middle range of like for NBA players, right? So I think that's what's going to need to happen. It'll be tough, but I'm going to ask you guys this. Mm-hmm. Are you going SGA and Jay Williams, or are you going SGA and Chet if you had to choose between two out of the three?
They're going to have to keep all three and make it work, man. You got to keep all three and make it work. I mean, they got Chet under control until 2026. By then, he'll have his bag. And then Jalen Williams, I think they're on the same timeline, right? Weren't they in the same draft? Let's take a look at this. They were, let's see, Jalen Williams' contract. Chet is up in 25, 26. Same thing. Jalen Williams, same thing. So they got both of them, their contracts under control for the next couple of years.
I think teams around the league, at least I would if I was a decision maker or GM, could be looking at this like a James Harden situation when he was in OKC. Like, can this guy possibly, Jalen Williams, maybe carry a franchise one day? Like, I think he's on that type of trajectory. And I wouldn't be surprised if, I mean, you could say this about almost any player in the NBA right now, that he doesn't finish his career with the OKC Thunder, and then he ends up being an all-star or an all-NBA player on a different team. I see that type of trajectory from him because he is super dynamic, and SGA is obviously going to be their guy for years to come, and he's going to be the guy that's going to get the super max, going to get all types of money. And I think, like, obviously you need to keep that big in Chet, right? Like, he kind of he's that guy that you need with SGA just to balance things out. I don't know if they could. It's going to be tough to keep Jalen, but I hope they do. Like CP, obviously you want to keep all three, and you even want to keep Lou Dort in there as your role guy because he's an excellent role guy. I think Lou Dort is almost like their Bruce Brown. He's never going to get his just due or his credit until they win a championship, and then everybody's going to like, oh, Lou Dort, like the best role player in the league. You know what I mean? Like I think they need to really prioritize keeping him as well. But who made the point about Josh Giddey? You, Al? Yeah, Al, like to your point, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, Josh Giddey and SJ probably aren't the perfect mix. So if you could get something in return for Josh, I think you do it at this moment, because if he could bring value to another team and then you could bring in something else that's a better fit that can maybe space the floor a little bit better, I think you do that right now if you can.
Is it even needing to space the floor? Do you just go get a traditional big? Because Chet, you could move him at the floor and then you still get four out. I think that's still even a solid move that you can make. Maybe you go
true.
Maybe go knock on Portland's door for the following season. You see, I know Robert Williams is an injury-prone guy, but when he plays defense, he's on the floor. He's pretty solid. Maybe you go get him on the cheap and go somewhere in that direction if you're OKC, and then you get somebody who's who can battle the bigs. You move Chet out to the floor, move him out on the perimeter, and then you really open up his game even more.
Yeah, true story, man. And look, on the Blazers side, I get it. Like, I think Chauncey had a legitimate gripe. I think those type of things should maybe even be reviewed. I don't like the fact that, the guy's sitting there, timeout, and then nobody's looking, and then they call the guy for a double dribble, I think you should be able to go back, review it. Maybe, timeout can be expressed verbally and with your hands, right? But to Chauncey's point, they do this in football as well as in basketball. Like, when you get to these late game situations, the referees know how many timeouts you have. So, like, they should know from a situational basketball standpoint, like, be ready and be on alert because these things could happen, right? How many times in football you see, like, the coach go over to the referee, like, yo, when it gets down to 3, we're going to call time. Or we're going to try to ice the kicker or whatever the case is. So the referees, as Chauncey said, should know. So I think he does have a gripe. Now, will the protest go through? That's another question. I doubt it, but I think they do have a legitimate case, man.
What's the protest for? For what? Like, what is he going to get out? What are they going to get out of this?
Well, I mean, at the time, I believe they had a 1-point lead.
Yeah, but, like, are you going to replay the game? All right, guys, everyone come back. We're going to replay the 1-point lead.
Bring your ass back and finish
It's
this
better
thing.
the Blazers for the Blazers got the loss anyway, right?
Yeah,
for the draft.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Go get it. Go use that for the draft pick, okay? You guys need more talent.
The Blazers got to get rid of Malcolm Brogdon. Scoot Henderson, 19 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. He's been struggling this year. It's good to see him do that. I think they just need to give Scoot opportunity and get Malcolm out of there and on a team that he needs, like a contender, man. Malcolm shouldn't even be here. Like, get him out of there.
With Jeremy Grant. Do you move Jeremy Grant too?
Now that's tough, man. Because I think he's a guy that you could probably move forward with, because he's a little bit younger than Malcolm. And he just keeps improving, bro. The shooting keeps getting better. I think you could get a lot for him, but if I'm that organization, I try and keep Jeremy Grant unless he wants to leave. Like, oh, I want to get out of here and be on a contender. But if he wants to be there, I think you try and keep Jeremy. But Malcolm, he shouldn't be there. Like, it's like the Eric Gordon thing, the situation he was with the Rockets. Like, he should have been on one of the LA teams years ago. And I think that's the case with Malcolm. Get him out of there. Give Scoot some opportunity with the other young players and see what he could do moving forward. See what you have there, because he did drop 19 today.
Yeah, and he's been struggling this season,
Yes.
Hopefully he can get things together next season. I mean, that's the thing. I coming into this year, you thought Scoot was going to give a little bit more to the Blazers, where it would at least be, they were going to be bad, but there are some games where it's just been downright awful, and you would hope that the Trailblazers would have been a little bit more scrappier. Same thing with the Pistons. They're kind of in the same situation, but for two different reasons. Portland, their guy that they drafted isn't really ready to take the reins and being that facilitator and playmaker that they need right now. Whereas for Detroit, it's just, that's just
Detroit is just like, pack it up and start over. Pack it up and start over. And speaking of start over, fellas, the Charlotte Hornets look like they are ready to start over, man. They look like they're ready to start over because they made a little we had a little Woj water balloon last night when the Charlotte Hornets and the Miami Heat made a deal sending Scary Terry to the Miami Heat in exchange for Kyle Lowry and a 2027 conditional first-round pick. Scary Terry on the move. Some people want to see him on the Knicks. Some people, want to see him elsewhere. Al, what you think about this deal, man? Scary Terry to Miami.
They got a legit scorer off the bench. That's going to be pretty potent for the Miami Heat. The only thing I think of now is that you're going to have Terry Rozier, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Jaime Jaquez. Jaime Jaquez is at least a competitor on defense, but they're all not the greatest defenders. So that will be interesting for the Miami Heat moving forward. Like, how do you take care of that? Because, you're going to have Bam, you're going to have Jimmy, but you need some more defense if you're the Miami Heat. That's what you build yourself on, that type of culture. That's the only concern about that move.
Andrew,
I think he fits. I think it's good. Everybody, you could ask anybody and they'll say, like, it fits what the Heat are doing. My thing is like, the Heat shouldn't look back. The Heat, hindsight is always 20/20, but I talked about this months ago. Like, I believe they should have got James Harden when he was available, tried to bring him in. You see what he's doing with the Clippers. Like, I was saying, like, go get James Harden. Now, this move makes you better. It makes you better. But I think with James Harden, they would have been legit title contenders, like all the way at the top with, the Bucks and the Celtics and the Nuggets. Like I think that's the move they should have made. But this is also a good move. It's solid. I like it. I mean, I don't think anybody could say it's a bad move for the Heat. Kyle is great NBA career, but let's be honest, he's washed. Like, in terms of like being a guy that you want to rely on, maybe like 10 minutes off the bench and take on that player coach type mold. I think that's fine for him. I don't think his place should be with the Hornets because they're going nowhere fast. Yeah, man, I think they dropped the ball with James Harden, but I like it. I think it's solid. It gives them a chance in the East. I think they had no chance before this move, but it gives them a chance. I just think James Harden would have made them legit title contenders.
I think this is a sneaky Miami Heat move, man, and I don't like it. I don't like it, man. I think this is a sneaky move. They're 6th in the East right now. 3 games back of the Cavs for 4th, sorry. 2.5 back from the Knicks in 5th. I think Rozier, who's having a career year in points, definitely gives you that upgrade over Lowry. He's a guy that will be able to fit right in with what Spoelstra wants to do, and he's going to add to that offense. I like that move. I mean, this team is 6th place in the East with Jimmy Butler having missed 15 games. So like he said in the past, when they usually turn up the Jets after the All-Star break, they make this move. I think this is a sneaky move for the Miami Heat, man. I really do. And yes, defensively, you look at it, you see holes. We saw it last year, and they played well. It's Spoelstra, man. You cannot count these guys out. I just like what this move does. It gives them a little punch offensively. No, it's not Dame. It's not Harden. It's not Spider. But for the Heat, sometimes something like this could be good enough. Look what they did last year.
This is true. Yeah. And Rozier will be starting, I misspoke, saying off the bench. It's just going to be interesting, man. Defensively, like I still think that's going to be a concern for Miami. You put Rozier next to Tyler Hero, that's a tough backcourt to defend. I mean, Terry Rozier is no defensive stopper. Neither is Tyler Hero. That's his biggest weakness. So then where are you going to get defensive stops? I mean, if I'm looking at that team, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to try to get out in transition and get guys leaking out.
Yeah.
We're going to try to push the pace consistently against the Miami Heat. Sure, Spo is a great coach, and he did phenomenal job with this team getting into the finals last year, but there's just some things where I feel like this is just going to be one of the most difficult things. I think it's one thing to get your players involved offensively. Like you can draw up a lot of schemes, X's and O's to get them involved offensively. You can do a lot of scheming for defense, but that's a lot more effort. And defense doesn't necessarily scream Terry Rozier or Tyler Hero for me.
Yeah.
Alex, do you think that, with Bam, Jimmy, Hayward, Highsmith, and Heat culture, the combination of all that, they could get to a level where their defense is good enough?
I think they can. Will be decent, but I just think about if you're thinking about the backcourt and they're supposed to be if it's Rozier and Hero that's supposed to be getting back to defend somebody, like are you going to rely on those two guys out in transition to stop somebody? That's where I'm going to that's my biggest question mark. Sure, in the with the front court you'll be fine. Like Bam's going to clean up a lot of the mess. Jimmy's a good perimeter defender, but I'm thinking about transition because if you're going to give up easy buckets and you can just make it a track meet, like if you're a team like the Pacers, I'm looking at this saying this is food for me right now.
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of this comes down to the way Duncan shoots the basketball. Like he could win you a game or two in the playoffs. And if playoff Jimmy looks like playoff Jimmy, because if he could be playoff Jimmy, you always have a chance, right? And then Bam is always solid in the playoffs, As CP said, you can never count this team out. It's Heat culture. It's Spo. They have a great coaching staff. So we'll see what develops.
No
I
question.
see Kevin Lucas in the chat. He's like, he's saying I'm bugging because the Heat were in the finals with Hero, Robinson, Dragic, Myers, Leonard. Yeah, last year they had a lot more defense, though. They had a lot more defense. Gabe Vincent was playing a really solid job. Caleb Martin playing good defense. Jimmy Butler. There were some solid defenders out there, especially with Bam.
Yeah. Fair
Hawkes
enough.
is a lot better than they thought he would be coming out of college.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. So let's see what happens there. We will have Bobby Marks on the show on Friday, 12 o'clock. So early edition of the NBA Report. It'll also be a Knicks Fan TV simulcast. So we'll be talking to former Nets GM and ESPN front office insider Bobby Marks. So make sure you guys tap into that. And we're looking forward to that one, man. Let's get to our prize picks of the night, fellas. Prize picks, daily fantasy made easy. Go to prizepicks.com or use our link in the video description for a instant deposit match up to $100. Al, how you looking on prize picks for this week or tonight, rather?
So here's where I went. Instead of going with 5, I decided to go with 4 players tonight.
Okay.
And here's where my selections are. All right. I'm going first and foremost with the prize pick. They gave the promos. They gave the promos, CP. Christian McCaffrey for 0.5 rushing yards. So you know that's easy lock.
Yeah.
Chose more. Should be getting that. Just got to wait until Sunday when they play Detroit. My next pick, Giannis Antetokounmpo for less than 52.5 points, rebounds, and assists. They're going against Cleveland tonight. I don't think Giannis will hit all of that. So I'm going with the lesser of for that matchup. I'm going with Rudy Gobert for more than 13.5 rebounds against Washington. You know they can't guard anybody. He's going to go against Daniel Gafford. I think Rudy will have a light night when it comes to getting boards and getting second chance opportunities. So I'm looking for more at there. And then my last choice is Steph Curry. The Warriors are home against the woeful Atlanta Hawks. And I think that Steph will hit more than 4.5 3-pointers tonight. He's on his home court. Atlanta doesn't play any defense. Steph's going to get cooking tonight.
There we go, man. There we go. Andrew, how you looking tonight, man?
Like Al, I went with 4 players. Klay Thompson. I'm going to go more than 2.5 assists. Everybody's sleeping on Klay. I think the playmaking has looked better at times this season, so I'll go over 2.5 assists. Tyler Hero, he's a bucket versus Memphis, who, they're not doing too much defending these days. We're going to go more than 21 points on that. Kyle Kuzma, I believe he'll score more than 19 points. Jaren Jackson Jr. is down in Miami. Who knows what he was doing last night? So we're going to go less than 25.5 points for Jaren Jackson Jr. There you have it.
There we go. So we got Klay Thompson with more. What was that? 2.5 assists. You got Tyler Hero with more than 21 points. Kyle Kuzma with more than 19, and then Jaren Jackson Jr. with less than 25.5 points. I think that number's kind of high against the Heat. So yeah, good pickings, fellas. And for you guys at home, man, play to win, but play responsibly. Once again, go to PrizePicks.com. Use our code NBAR for an instant deposit match up to $100. Great show, fellas. Thought we really got after it, man. Got into the latest and greatest and closed the show well, man. Remember that this show is available in audio podcast format, man. You can catch us on all major podcast platforms. And we'll see you guys Friday, man. Bobby Marks, 12 o'clock, early start of the NBA Report. But make sure, once again, that you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys on Friday, man.